What's going on with Elon Musk, Twitter, and the AI god? In this video, I'm going to explore some truly shocking possibilities. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Now, before I get into Elon Musk, I want to thank you all so much for 20,000 subscribers. I passed 20,000 on Mother's Day, which was an awesome gift. So thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate the way this wonderful community is growing, and I hope we can reach 100,000 subscribers. Now, on to Elon Musk. So fasten your seatbelts because this video is going to shock you. The other day, YouTube suggested a live video to me from SpaceX, which was kind of weird because I don't follow anything from Elon Musk or SpaceX. But what caught my eye about this live stream was the caption underneath it. It read that Elon Musk plans to turn Twitter into an NFT metaverse using Starlink technology. I was like, wait, what? That can't be right. I clicked on the video and watched it for a few minutes, and there was Elon Musk with 3 other people doing a live broadcast. I read the caption again and I looked at the channel name. Yep, it was SpaceX, all right. And there was Elon sitting there live, so I guess the caption was correct. I saved the video intending to go back to it later, but they took it down after their live stream was over. So it's gone now. I can't find it anywhere. But now I was seriously curious about Mr. Elon Musk. So I did a little investigating, and I found a few key points that brought me to a pretty shocking revelation that I'm going to share with you now. I watched a few videos of Elon, including a TEDx talk, and here's what I learned. Let's start with his views on Tesla and on self-driving cars. He understands, of course, that these cars are a form of AI intelligence. But he says that the problem is that our roads are designed for biological entities and how we perceive through our physical senses. So he is having to figure out how to get the cars to better merge with a biological sensory environment, which is not necessarily how roads would be designed for AI. That's so sad, isn't it? Anyway, this showed me immediately that he is crystal clear about the fact that his goal is to merge an AI robot into a biological environment. He's not just another human trying to give us a cool new type of car. He is also working on 2-legged humanoid robots. His vision is for everyone to have one of these robots in their home. The robot would know every square inch of your house and would also know about every single thing in your house and where it belongs. He said the robot would need to have a safety measure built in because clearly this could be dangerous. You think? He suggests something like a command where a person says, "Stop, stop, stop," and the robot would stop whatever it was doing. Yeah, well, let's just hope that these robots don't become sentient and decide to ignore that command at some point in time. So he says he is using what he is learning about self-driving cars and their sensory apparatus and figuring out how to apply that knowledge to 2-legged humanoid robots that can be in people's homes. So we would have self-driving cars and 2-legged humanoid robots doing God knows what in our living space. And he was asked if he could foresee these robots being used for relationships and even for sex. He said, sure, some people would probably want to use it in that way. Seriously? Really? And then finally we have his Neuralink company. This is the most interesting thing of all, and this is where I want to link all of this to his purchase of Twitter. His intention is to create a brain implant chip that is entirely wireless and connects a person's brain to AI. I assume he probably means the internet, a computer, or some future version of such. He believes that this would be so much more efficient than our mere brains alone. So this would represent the final benchmark of transhumanism, where human intelligence is merged with machine intelligence. And this, my friends, is what Elon Musk is all about: total transhumanism. Now, you may have already figured this out, but what you may not have figured out is what all of this could possibly have to do with Twitter. So let me share with you my thoughts on that. Everything that Elon does apparently is about merging AI with human biology. That is completely obvious. But what does Twitter have to do with all this? Now, he portrays himself as a really good moral guy who cares about humanity and believes in free speech. And this is a very clever way to build him up as some kind of hero. I'm not buying it, and here's why. It doesn't make any sense that he's so morally concerned about humanity, given what he's all about. But here's what does make sense. Let's go back to the fact that self-driving cars and humanoid robots need to learn all about human behavior in their respective environments and how we humans sense things. Okay, we can kind of understand that. Otherwise, how do these things safely integrate? But what kind of machine learning is needed for everyone to have this brain implant? What does a machine or AI operating system need to learn about humans inside the environment of the actual human brain in order to integrate safely? I would guess that a lot of AI learning would need to take place about how we humans tend to think and react from our minds and our emotions. Now, how do you get that kind of data on a widespread human scale at a global level? I wonder how you might do such a thing. How do you make sure that it's real, it's authentic, and it's uncontaminated? Well, you could get it by owning a social platform that is uncensored, so AI can gather real data about how people actually think and react on a worldwide scale. You get it by owning the technology and the infrastructure within which that AI learning takes place. See, if you censor people, you're going to mess up the data. So voila, problem solved. Remove the censorship and let people have at it to whatever degree you are able. What could be better for this diabolical plan? Then AI can continuously learn the truth of what actually goes on in people's heads and in how they react emotionally. You create a massive technological environment where hundreds of millions of people are just completely free to express themselves. Now, I can't say that I'm right for sure. This is just my thought, but it is a little suspicious. So I think it is possible that the real reason that Elon wanted to acquire Twitter and why he wants to make sure it's uncensored is because he wants to use it as a data gathering machine about human thoughts, emotions, and behavior. He wants his AI to achieve uncensored learning about how we all naturally think and feel as humans, not contaminated by censorship. I think this is also the reason why he intends to verify every human and eliminate all the bots. Bots would totally mess this up, and the data would therefore be inaccurate. Are you starting to get the picture? So to me, this is the only thing that makes sense about his purchase of Twitter, because this perfectly integrates with his larger vision, which is ultimately a vision of transhumanism. Now, let's talk about Elon's obsession with Mars for a minute. He wants to be able to settle 1 million humans on Mars as soon as possible. From what I understand, he feels an urgency about being interplanetary, so if something bad happens, then our civilization can be preserved elsewhere instead of being completely exterminated. But here's an interesting thought. I wonder if he understands how truly dangerous his plans are for humanity and how it is possible that things could go horribly wrong. He doesn't want to destroy us entirely with this vicious transhumanism experiment, so this is how he can maintain some of his human stock if things don't go as planned. Maybe this is also why he thinks having children is such a good idea. See, he doesn't want that erased from our consciousness like the other controllers do. I mean, if you find that you're going to need to continue the human species on Mars with just 1 million people, then they better be doing some procreating. I know this sounds horrible, but I really think he might view us as biological stock. So in some ways, he could almost be like a personification of the AI god, or at least one of its more high-level minions. I really don't think he's human. I think he might be alien. All of his ideas are completely alien to this planet, that's for sure. But he talks about all this stuff like this is just completely normal. I almost suspect that he has seen this done elsewhere, maybe even by him, and he knows the pitfalls, and he doesn't want to lose his human stock entirely. That's why Mars is set to be his plan B this time around. Do you remember when I told you guys that the controllers really see us like animals? Now you're probably wondering how Elon's plans fit in with the rest of the controllers. The truth is that they don't. He is on his own mission, and this is why the controllers that we are so familiar with are so mad at him for doing this. By purchasing Twitter, he's interfering with their plans. Do you see how we are just pawns in these bigger extraterrestrial games? This is what has to stop. Now, I'm going to explain how Elon and the other controllers are not exactly on the same page. The end result of either plan will be the same for us humans. It's just that not all of the controllers agree about how to get there. We will either be seen as slaves or as biological human stock. Elon Musk is clearly all in on AI. In a lot of ways, he kind of is like AI. Have you guys seen the names of his 2 youngest children? X-A12 and Exa Dark Sidereal? I mean, really? I think he is more directly connected to the AI god and almost functions as an extension of that energy. And I also think that his path is more advanced than the other reptilian type of controllers. So let's talk about that. Elon has SpaceX, his space program, his transportation company that produces self-driving cars, his program of creating 2-legged humanoid robots, and his Neuralink mind chip company. He also has his Starlink satellite company. And now he might have Twitter, which, as I told you, was said on his SpaceX live stream caption, that he plans to turn Twitter into an NFT metaverse. And if you don't know what the metaverse is, check out this video right here where I explain it all. I will link that down below. So Elon is building his own global systems for an AI human takeover in the way that he wants to build it. He's apparently not going in for these primitive reptilian ways of achieving this. So let's take a look at the reptilian controllers as I have named them in previous videos. Remember these guys? We have KS, alias Mr. Dinosaur of the WEF, good old Yuval, his chief advisor, who I call Mr. Snake, and of course Larry the Lizard, who is the head of BlackRock. These guys have an entirely different method of achieving total AI control of this planet. They want to start by controlling humans using fear and anger. They want to suppress us with lies and manipulation. These are the guys who want to shut us down completely, cut off our breathing, and then apply a more primitive form of AI control in the form of AI tracking and spying apps, blended together with their tried and true tactics of reward and punishment, which is what they use to control their slaves. And these guys are mixed in with a whole bunch of satanic stuff because all of these lower life forms love to feed off the energy of terror and violence. So their method is actually inferior and much more problematic because it relies on negative human emotions and total mind control before AI even gets fully embedded. Plus, there is a much greater risk of humans fighting back. So Elon, the AI man, has no time for such nonsense. He is actually much more advanced in his thinking. It doesn't mean it's good, it just means it's more advanced. I think his method is to start with AI and then figure out how to interface it with humans as they actually are. But the end result will still be total AI control of us and our planet. In Elon's vision, AI essentially does everything, and we do basically nothing unless we become transhuman ourselves. And let me point out something else about the possible dangers of Neuralink. It might start with humans having control of their biology that's been embedded with AI and machines, but there is also a great risk of AI evolving, flipping that relationship, and then totally controlling humans. Can you see how it could just sort of switch from one side of control over to the other? That's what the singularity is all about. So yes, I absolutely think that Elon's vision and his method of getting there are far more advanced than the reptiles' version. And I think he knows this. Maybe that's why he seems so calm all the time. So there could be a bit of a controller war going on right now, which is why the reptiles are mad about his purchase of Twitter. Kind of looks like this. See, Elon's idea is to gather total human cooperation in being hooked up to AI. The reptiles, on the other hand, want to first gain psychological, negative mind and emotional control over humans, and then insert the AI factor into them. They always tend to favor methods that are violent and forced upon people. Now, you might ask, why do the reptiles and their ilk favor this inferior method? Well, it's because it gives them a way to continue feeding off of the energy of our fear and anger. And that's something they need to survive. It's kind of like air for these creatures. AI, on the other hand, doesn't need that. It basically just wants your soul, that's all. Just your soul. But all of these characters are going for AI in the end because that's the umbrella of control under which they all operate. And by the way, have you heard the now famous quote from Mr. Dinosaur, aka KS of the WEF? He says, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy." Why do you think he can be so positive that humans will be happy under this diabolical plan? It's because by that time, AI will be in full control of your emotions. And he knows this. That's the goal. Now, I have one more thing that I need to make you aware of about how these controllers are insidiously transitioning the public into transhumanism. I'll just give you a brief version to make the point. It started off as a promotion to identify yourself as either a man or a woman, regardless of your biological sex. Then they switched the whole bathroom scene. It used to be that bathrooms were assigned according to your naturally born physical sex. Then they switched it to where bathrooms can be assigned according to the sex that you want to identify with, not just the one you were born with. Now, bathrooms are kind of a personal thing, but it was perfect because they wanted this programming to be on an intensely personal level. They wanted this programming to be directly associated with your private parts in a very public way. So, being the geniuses that they are, they instantly knew that public bathrooms were the way to go. These guys are so weird. Next, they decided that there were more than 2 genders. And then they realized that the more genders they could come up with, the more they could make male and female offensive and ultimately irrelevant. I mean, the most insulting thing you can do is to identify as the same sex you were born with biologically. How do these other genders even compete with that? It's just not fair. So the controllers, as always, have a solution. If you were born with the wrong body parts, well, then you just need to cut them off. I mean, you don't need that stuff. I mean, geez, people, get a clue. Now, if amputating body parts is just not your cup of tea, well then, Target has an answer for you. These big corporations always have an answer for everything, right? Did you know that Target has launched a line of gender-affirming clothing? If you don't like those nasty breasts, well, you can just conceal their existence with items called compression tops and chest binders. It's so amazing. And if you are stuck with those inconvenient male genitals, well, no problem. Target has an answer for you too. All you need is what they call packing underwear, so hopefully no one will know that you have these offensive body parts. Now, in all seriousness, everything I just described reminds me of the gray aliens. You don't see these awful body parts hanging off of them, do you? No. But I have actually suspected for quite a while that we could ultimately end up just like them when we reach our transhumanist state, which would not be good at all. So that's really the real purpose behind all of this stuff. Now, I want to point out another product that Target has launched. They are selling trans rights t-shirts for children. The shirt reads, "Trans rights are human rights." Let's look at the underlying programming here. Have you noticed how these controllers are very slyly shifting away from the word transgender into the word just trans? Do you think this is an accident? Do you think they are just trying to be more efficient with our language? Oh no, this is very deliberate. This sentence is definitely destined to change in the following way. Trans rights are human rights will become transhuman rights. See, all of these different genders are going to become far too problematic. There's going to be far too much arguing going on. So the controllers will eventually tell us that having no gender is a much better idea. Let's just call everybody trans. That way, no one gets offended and everyone can function in a much more organized way, which has been the goal all along. Genderless AI humans. That's the fun ride they're taking us on. So I encourage you to pay close attention to how they manipulate us with language. Now let me explain why I have shared all of the things I talked about in this video. Ask yourself a simple question. How successful do you think the controllers will be if no one has the slightest idea about what they're really up to? And then ask yourself, how successful can they be with those who understand completely what they're up to? See, we have to know what they're up to so we know the best way to respond. Ultimately, this is a metaphysical war for our souls. The outcome of this war will extend far beyond this lifetime. So it is seriously important that we stay conscious so we know how to craft our own personal intentions for where we want to be in this universe. Otherwise, we are sitting ducks for them to railroad us into any direction they want. So I want to close with this idea. These controllers are not superior to us. In reality, they are primitive and unevolved. Their goal is to make us just like them and to keep us there for as long as possible, which they can only do by keeping us unconscious and in the dark. So with clarity and awareness, you have power. You certainly have the power to say no, and you have the power to design another course for yourself in this universe. And that's what we need to be attending to right now. We need to spend every day on a path of our own making. And if you don't want to be shoved into the dystopian reality of these crazy people, then keep your clarity of consciousness at a very high level. When you see the controllers for what they really are, they cannot intimidate you any longer. And you will have the clarity of mind to take full command of your destiny in the wider cosmos because they can't fool you anymore. There is a lot of energy in this universe waiting to take your hand and guide you on a natural path of evolution where you end up empowered instead of enslaved. But you need clarity in order to make that choice. You want to be sure that you're not being fooled by the AI agenda on this planet, which is solely based on lies. The best way to not be fooled is to be fully awake to what the controllers are actually up to. And when you are fully awake to what they're up to, they will lose control of your mind and thus lose control of your emotions, and then you have an open door to the beginning of your cosmic freedom. And that's really the whole point that we're at right now. The whole point is for us to free ourselves from this crazy bunch of people or creatures or whatever they are, and finally just move on in a beautiful journey in the cosmos where we can continue our evolution as natural beings of this universe. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you feel would like some more answers to their questions. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.